Trên tay của Nguyên Khang đây là cuốn sách Hà Nội Change, cuốn sách của ELKA, một nữ văn sĩ người Canada. Hiện đã có thời gian sinh sống và làm việc tại Việt Nam hơn 15 năm nay. Quý vị thân mến, chúng tôi đang có mặt tại tổ ấm gia đình của ELKA và chúng ta hãy cùng tìm hiểu xem Việt Nam có phải là một nguồn cảm hứng trong những sáng tác của chị không nha. Hello ELKA. Oh, hello, how are you? Yeah. So, you are playing with your family?
Yeah.
Do I disturb your environment?
No, please.
It's okay. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Khang from Vietnam in my heart. Yeah. Oh, very cute. How old are you?
Good.
Yeah. How old are you? 5. How about you? 3. Yeah, very cute boys and girls.
Thank you.
I'm from Vietnam in my heart, and is it possible for me to have a talk with you?
Please.
I am keeping a Hanoi Change. Why that is Hanoi Change, not Hanoi ELKA?
It is not about me.
No.
So no, it is not. But I did live in Hanoi for a long time. So that's how, you know, it's about Hanoi, and it's about a young American woman who moves to Hanoi and her life goes terribly wrong. Her life falls apart. And then she learns to sort of build a new life there.
Oh, really?
And be happy.
Yeah. Have you ever have any talk to turning into a movie? Because this is a very good book and people like it.
Well, I never thought about it because I don't really, I don't know, I just never thought about movies. But someone, you know, an old friend in Hanoi read it and liked it, and he knows people who make movies. So he asked me if I would be interested to make it into a movie. And I said, sure, but I'm writing another book that I think would be a better movie. And so I gave him the thriller, and he also, and these other people, they also thought it was a better story, so they want to make that one into it.
Do you have any plan to translate Hanoi Change into Vietnamese so that Vietnamese audience can read it?
I would love that. And the publisher, so it's not my choice, because I sold the, you know, the publishing rights. They told me that they're going to make a Vietnamese edition of it. They told me that some months ago, but then I haven't heard anything else.
How do people comment about this book?
Good. You know, it's a fun book. It's like funny.
Yeah. And how about your husband? Does he read this book?
Yes, he did. He read it. He liked it.
Really? He did all the books, right?
Yes, he has to, really. Right?
So he is your fan. He can read all the books that you write.
He has no choice, right? So,
yeah.
Over the 8 years that we've been together, you know, she never ceases to impress me with the work that she does. You know, it's gone from writing pure fiction work to illustrating and writing children's books. But also before that she worked in the media on news articles, and then now you know, some people are talking to her about turning one of her fictions into a movie. So you know, it's quite awe-inspiring, I think, the work and that she's been able to do, and the what she's been able to achieve.
So what makes you impressive about Vietnam?
well, that was, so I first came here in 1992, and at that time Vietnam had not been open to tourism for very long, and it was very different and very interesting, and I just loved it. I thought it was
I remember that you ride that not so many motorbike, just only bicycle on the street, right? And that's the reason you love here.
It was beautiful. It was, of course, I think now, you know, more people have more money, life is easier for most people. But Hanoi, back in that time, was really beautiful. It was quiet. You could get around really easily. It was empty, much more empty than it is.
Yeah, it proves that you love Hanoi so much. But why you leave Hanoi and to go to Ho Chi Minh City for staying?
Well, I'd already lived in Hanoi for a long, long time, so I thought it would be good to see something different. I didn't want to leave Vietnam yet, and so I moved here. And I could still go back to Hanoi for work, so I went to Hanoi every month, and it was great. And
every month now?
You know, not for the last year, no, but before I used to go every month. And yeah, I really liked it. And the weather is better here. You know, the weather is much better. And so I was really happy to be here for a few years, but then I wanted to move back to Hanoi. I was thinking maybe of moving out of Vietnam to try something else, but then I met my husband.
Oh, do you feel any difference when becomes a daughter-in-law in a Vietnamese family?
Well, my husband grew up overseas. He grew up in Australia, so I feel he's very Australian. You know, his way of thinking, of course there's some influence from Vietnam, but there's also a lot of influence from Australia. And I don't think that culture is so important in a relationship. You know, I think that either you like someone or you love someone or you don't. And that can happen with someone from anywhere.
There's always cultural issues with everybody, even for me, you know, spending so much time in Australia. When I come back to Vietnam, I have some cultural issues myself. Or even when I was living in Australia, you know, I wasn't Western Australian, I was Vietnamese Australian. So I had some cultural issues there. So I think, you know, everybody has some cultural issues no matter where they are. I think especially if you're not, you haven't been in that country for as long as, you know, a pure Vietnamese has been here for.
But because I see that some people, they have a very strong characteristic, especially with a Vietnamese guy, characteristic is a little different from Swedish guy, something like that. Yeah, and I just wonder that what is his characteristic makes you love him?
I don't think that those are necessarily Vietnamese characteristics. I think those are he's very, very optimistic. You know, he's very, if anything goes wrong, he's good at just kind of accepting it and looking to how to make things better. And I think that's a wonderful quality. And maybe that's a Vietnamese characteristic, actually, just to be able to forget about the past and to really look forward and think about how to improve. So, and he's also hardworking, and I think that's a Vietnamese characteristic, and that's something I really admire.
Do you find any, besides Hanoi Chen, do you write any books that involve in Vietnam?
Yeah, the one about the priests from the 1930s, that's set in central Vietnam, so around Da Lat, but you know, in
the
some
Central
small
Highlands,
town, in the Central Highlands.
About the murder in the Central Highlands. Yet also write about Vietnam.
Yes. And then the thriller, which is now hopefully, you know, in the process of being made into a movie, that's also set in Vietnam. It's set mostly in Ho Chi Minh City, but also in Hanoi.
So what do you feel interesting about Vietnam in your into your novel or your books?
I mean, there's so much that's interesting here. You know, to people overseas, I think just. I can't even begin to describe. There's, for instance, this neighborhood, you know, there's really, really big fancy houses, and then there's really poor houses, and they're all close together. At least in Canada, it's not like that. So I think that makes for interesting conflicts and dynamics. So just that's one example of something that's interesting here.
You have any story that makes you still impressive about Vietnam? The first day you come here and now.
I have so many stories. You know, I remember when in Hanoi, the office I was working, every summer it would flood, you know, the little road that went to the office would flood, and it would flood not just, you know, to here, but like to
So it means
here.
that you go to work and you have to use a kind of the
Right.
canoe.
So you'd have to like pull your skirt really high and then, you know, try to
Oh, really?
get through. Or
Have you ever industrial situation? You
Yeah,
have
all
to
the
pull
time.
out your jeans.
every, you know, I mean, every day when you went to work, that was the situation. Or yeah, just it was
A very good experience.
a fun experience. Of course, at the time it was annoying because you'd go to work and you'd be all dirty and wet, and then everyone was the same. But it's the kind of thing that when you look back on it, it was interesting and fun.
So now, do you often go to Hanoi to visit all of your friends and your? I mean, how often do you come back to Hanoi right now?
Well, I used to go every month to Hanoi, but now I haven't been for probably a year, which is quite sad, and I need to go back soon. One of my best Vietnamese friends is in Hanoi, so I always go and visit her.
Yeah.
But many of my friends from Hanoi have now moved to Ho Chi Minh City.
So now you can keep connection with your friends here in Ho Chi Minh City.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I still miss Hanoi. You know, I think Hanoi is so beautiful and so it just has it's different. Ho Chi Minh City feels more like Bangkok or like some other city, you know, many other cities. But Hanoi just it's so beautiful, and everywhere you look, there's something interesting to see still. Even after 17 years here, every time I go back there, I just see something I've never seen before.
And beside the scenery in Hanoi, what makes you impressive about Hanoi?
I like the people. I like that, I think Hanoians have a reputation for being quite tough and maybe not so friendly on the surface. It's true. But I think when you get to know people, they're really genuinely real. So I think it takes a while to make friends there, but once you've made friends, you have them for your life.
Yeah. It's very interesting to hear how much you spend for Vietnam, how much love you spend for Vietnam. But can you you want to say anything to the audience? Can you speak Vietnamese? Vietnam trong tim tôi. Can you say that? Okay? Together with your mom? It's okay? Come here. You can talk here with your mom. And now we will count 1, 2, 3 and you will say Vietnam trong tim tôi, okay? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Vietnam trong
tim thôi.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thưa quý vị, như vậy chúng ta vừa đến với một câu chia sẻ lần này không phải là một nhân vật mà tới 3 nhân vật cùng nói câu này. Và hy vọng là quý vị sẽ tiếp tục đồng hành cùng với chương trình Việt Nam trong tim tôi số lần sau để cùng lắng nghe câu chuyện về nữ văn sĩ người Canada nhé. Còn bây giờ xin chào và hẹn gặp lại.